Being a film critic these days can be pretty taxing. For many of us, you're losing money to bring reviews to the public, but it's the passion and love for film that keeps us doing this. My next guest has definitely found a way to keep himself diversified and relevant as a familiar voice in the DMV. Travis Hopson is a member of the Washington, D.C. Area Film Critics Association, a writer for Examiner.com, co-creator of the Punch Drunk Critics website, as well as a regular contributor to a number of entertainment broadcasts. It's my pleasure to finally welcome him to Picture Lock. Travis, welcome to the show.
What's up, man? It's about time, man.
I know, we've been trying this.
I've been begging you to come on the show and you won't let me on.
I was like, no, Travis, no.
I know, it's crazy.
No, I'm really glad that we can finally sit down.
Me too, man.
All right, so I always love to start at the beginning. When did you first fall in love with film?
Oh, man. I think I first, okay. I've always loved movies, like always, right?
Right.
My dad had a love for movies. My dad went to T.C. Williams High School. He played for the team that's on Remember the Titans.
Really?
He played for that team. He was
Wow.
there on set. So he had a love for movies always, and my uncle had a love for movies, and that kind of transferred over to me. Now, my early love of movies, my tastes weren't so great. I always joke that the movies that influenced me early on were like, they weren't like the Goonies and things like that. They were like Revenge of the Nerds.
That's still I mean,
okay, but I'd like to think that my tastes have grown a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've always loved movies my entire life, and it's my passion. I still love it.
Can I get off subject for a second? You talked about Remember the Titans, right? So that was one of the films that when I was in high school, I saw it and I was just like, oh my goodness. And I was a Denzel fanatic at the time.
Yeah.
And so when I got here to DC at one of the Nats games, like Remember the Titans came on and I was like, oh snap. And I'm going crazy. And this group right in front of me, they turn around, they're like, you didn't go to T.C. Williams? And I was like, but I love the movie.
Yeah, a little snobby about that. But you know what though? The interesting thing about that movie is my dad and I always have all these conversations about that movie, right? Since he was there while they were filming all that stuff, he loved the film, of course. Right. Admitting that, of course, it was Disney-fied, as you'd expect it to be.
Right.
And he'd always bring it up because he knew that I couldn't stand that movie. I couldn't stand that movie. I still don't like it, you know, despite the fact that it has such a personal connection to our family. I'm still just like, I could do without that film. But you know, that's just one of those things.
Yeah. All right. So how did you get into film criticism? Was this something that you always, thought you wanted to do? Or?
No, not at all. I kind of fell into it, I think. I think it was around 2006, 2007. I always loved movies. I worked a lot. I used to work in the defense industry, for a lot of years. Out here in DC, every day, slaving,
Right.
like everybody else. And I needed that outlet. I needed something, like a creative outlet, because I just wasn't getting it, from the work I was doing. And so I was like, okay, let me start like a podcast or something like that that I can just talk about movies for an hour, a week or something like that, and I reached out to people looking for people to co-host it with me because I had no faith in myself to carry a show on my own. And that's when I met John Nolan, who was also a member of WAFCA, just like we are. And we met, and our very first meeting, we were at this really terrible movie. And it was kind of like a Tarantino-esque biker movie. And I can't even remember the name of it anymore. And we made the exact same cracks about it at the exact same time. We're like, yeah, we're cool.
Yeah.
So we started doing the show, and we were like, we need to start like a website or something to kind of just go along with it. And that's when we created Punch Drunk Critics.
Okay.
And at the beginning, really wasn't really about anything. It was just like the occasional post and reviews and things like that. Really small, nothing major.
Right.
But that's when it all started.
So Punch Drunk Critics, I've always wondered, how did that come about?
That's my fault. That's my fault. Punch Drunk Critics, I named it after what was one of my favorite movies and still is, which is Punch Drunk Love, obviously. Okay. Paul Thomas Anderson is my favorite director. I love everything he does. So I kind of just gave the name based off that. It was silly, it was stupid. But you know what? people don't forget that title.
Right. Right.
It's
Exactly.
dumb, but no one forgets it. So anywhere I go, they're like, oh, Punch Drunk Critics. So which is cool. With that, I guess it served its purpose, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's memorable.
Yeah.
So you write for the Examiner, and we were talking about this right before we got started, that you have so many different hats. You go to a lot of festivals, you cover reviews. Can you just give us, like, what does a typical year and maybe, like, even a typical week kind of look for you as a critic?
I don't sleep. I'm a vampire, actually. But no, it kind of feels that way sometimes. Punch Drunk Critics is my baby. It always will be. That is a 24-hour operation.
Right.
You know, I mean, you see me online. I'm posting all day, all night, basically.
I honestly am like, how in the world is he doing this?
Along with writing 4 or 5 reviews a week. So it's maddening. But yeah, I also write for Examiner.com. I'm the top film critic for them, and I do every Thursday morning. I'm on WBAL Morning News in Baltimore, you know, talking about movies, and I also do WETA Around Town right here in Washington with our friend Tim Gordon. Right. In fact, you filled in for me a couple times when we used to do our show. You filled in for me a couple times, which is very nice of you. Ratings went down, but that's another issue.
Nice.
but otherwise, yeah, I do a lot of different things, man. And my day consists of me waking up early. I have to discipline myself to wake up early and just get to work, writing reviews, writing news, because that's the bulk of our audience is news during the days. You know, when it comes around the weekend, release dates, the reviews pick up the slack. They're huge. But yeah, it's writing all day. Then it's traveling into DC to see screenings 2 or 3 times a week.
Right.
And now with online screeners more prevalent than ever, I'm seeing more movies than ever. You know,
Right.
I mean, geez, last year I saw 270. Wow. I probably wrote reviews for 250 of them.
Wow.
You know, and the year before it was close to the same. And this year it's just the same.
Do you have it now? You know how like Jay-Z says like he doesn't write rhymes, right? It's just in his head. Is it the same for you? Like you see a movie and you just start writing the review in your head? How do you?
It depends on the movie, honestly. The worst thing I think this is probably the case for all critics. The worst movie is the kind that's just mediocre.
Right.
The kind where it's just like, yeah, it just kind of exists. You know, those are the worst to write.
Right.
You know, the ones you have really strong feelings about are easy. They'll come out like that. You know. Right. Movies that are really easy to criticize. I try not to be hurtful. You know, whenever I write a review, I try not to. Right. There are some movies that will test my patience. You know, but most of the time I try to be I try to find something positive to say if I can. Okay. You know? Yeah. So yeah. But you know, for me, when it comes to writing, I'm pretty slow, honestly. I'm pretty slow. But if this is kind of how I was in school too. If I put myself on a deadline, like if I need to get this done in an hour, I'll bang it out in 30 minutes. Oh, nice. If I don't, it'd take me all day.
Right. See, this is great because like as many reviews as you put out, I'm always like, man, I'm so slow at this. But at least like
I'm terrible.
Yeah, you're helping me feel like, okay, I'm in the right place.
I'm jealous of all my friends who can do these things, you know, no problem. Like in 15, 20 minutes, some people can do it. Yeah. It's interesting when you go to a place like Sundance, you know, and you know, when I was there this year, I've been there the last few years, and I went this year. I think I wrote like 17 reviews, right? Which, you know, in about a week. It's not that bad. But my friend Chris, who writes for JoeBlow.com, he probably did double that. Wow. And I'm always like, I hate you. You know, because he can just sit down in line and knock out a review in 10 minutes. And I'm just like, I can't do that. Right. I can't do it. Yeah. I just don't, it's not in me to do that. And it's not that I have to sit there and like consider everything. I just can't do it. I just can't do it.
It's not something super intellectual. It's just
no, I just can't do it.
That's awesome.
I can't formulate my thoughts that fast.
Exactly. Sometimes I feel like kind of like what you were just kind of hinting at is like I feel like, man, if I do this too fast, then I didn't really think about it. Right. But then sometimes, like you said, I mean, if I have a strong opinion, then like I've already been thinking about this in the car until I get home or whatever. Yeah. All right, so one thing that a lot of people say in the digital age that the film critic is dead. Do you think that's true or?
I do think that stuff like, I hate it when I see people who do like Twitter reviews and things like that. I can't stand it.
Yes.
I hate stuff like that, you know, and I do feel like our profession, and I do call it a profession. For me, it's a profession. For everybody, it's not. For some people, it's a hobby. You know, I take it seriously. I do it. I do this for a living. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I take it very seriously, and I do feel like our profession is dying out. You know, newspapers don't hire guys like us anymore.
Right.
You know, there are more than a few times I'll go somewhere around town and I'll see a former film critic, you know, working at a restaurant or something like that, and you're like, oh, okay.
Right.
And that's just kind of how it is. You can hire anybody to do what we do, and anybody can do it, and everybody does do it.
Right.
You know, everybody has opinions on stuff, and with the internet age, everybody can put it out there. And it's not that hard anymore. So guys like me, guys like you, other people out there who've been doing this for years, why pay us? Why give us the big bucks anymore when you can hire some kid and give him free exposure?
Right.
You know, and people will accept it.
Yeah.
And it hurts. You know, I hate to see it that it's going that way, but that's the way it's going, and it's not going to change.
One of the things that I think for me personally, I'm a little bit jealous of like the younger kids now.
I know, everybody's jealous of me. It's crazy. I hear this everywhere I go.
Yes.
I knew, I was waiting for you to say it too.
I've been hating on you for a long time. No, but I think, you know, I'm glad I am the age I am, but like I feel like if you're in college right now, like this is a perfect time because so many people can get on YouTube. If you create a great video, you develop your personality, you develop your brand, then people come back. But for, you know, us, like we got a job we got to attend to, or, you know, you got so many different.
Yeah.
But I feel like this is one of those times where, like you said, like anybody can kind of do it, and everybody does it.
It's a double-edged sword. I mean, there are more opportunities than ever right now to do this if you wanted to, or to just make yourself known. But on the other hand, it does kind of cut the knees out from guys like us.
Right.
You know? So I mean,
Exactly.
it's you know, it's one of those things. Like I said, it's not going to change. It's not going to get easier. So the only thing that we can do is find new ways to present ourselves. It's the only way we can do it. You talk about diversifying. It's the only way to do it. You can't just watch a movie and go sit down and write a review anymore. It's not about that anymore. You have to put yourself, you have to put your face out there, you have to put your voice out there, you have to put your personality out there. You can't just write a review anymore. It's not that simple. 30 years ago, it was that way.
Right.
You know, how many of those critics from those days are still around here? Not very many, a few.
Yeah.
So you got to find new ways to make yourself known.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's dropping jewels. Travis Hopson on Drunk Critics. All right, so tell me, what's like one of your fondest memories in doing this? Because you've met celebrities, you know, you've done interviews, all this kind of thing. What's some of your fondest memories?
My favorite interview. All right, I have a couple. My favorite interview of all time, I think. Okay, I have three. For me, for the little geek in me, I loved meeting John Cena, the wrestler.
Really?
The movie I've interviewed him for was atrocious, but that's besides the point. He was a great guy, cool guy. He actually helped me set up the equipment when we were doing it. That's how nice of a guy he was. Yeah,
wow.
And I'm a big wrestling fan,
yeah.
which is one of those things that always bleeds into my stuff at Punch Drunk Critics. My love of wrestling, my love of comic books, my love of politics, all that stuff kind of bleeds in there, and some people hate it. I get all those emails too. Thank you. All those people who send me hate mail because of something I say that's political, but it's fine. John Cena was the nicest guy in the world. I loved meeting the RZA for when he did The Man with the Iron Fists, because I've been such a fan for such a long time.
Right.
And then I saw the movie and I was like, damn it. The movie's terrible, but RZA is a cool guy too. Right. And then I loved meeting Steve James, the guy who did Hoop Dreams and Life Itself.
Right.
I interviewed him with our friend Tim Gordon, and that was probably the best pure interview I've ever done. He's so smart, and he compared us to Ebert and Siskel and Ebert, which
really?
I was like, yeah, you're my favorite now.
And I mean, coming from him, that's huge.
Coming from him, that was huge.
Right.
I mean, I've gotten a lot of compliments. But I've met a lot of people. But that was big for me. I really, really liked that because I respect Steve James so greatly, you know, and I respect Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel so much too.
Right.
How could you not? So yeah, that was great. Those are my favorites.
Yeah. You know, it's funny because I mean, I love I love how many critics these days, they have like that side passion as well, and like you said, you bring it in. I think I was always a fan of the Attitude Era with The Rock. Like, so when I go to see San Andreas, like I'm just like,
oh, I had to invite a friend to that one because I have friends who watch wrestling too. So if there's a movie with The Rock in it, I gotta invite somebody.
Right.
You know, I can't just let it go by. Somebody has to come with me.
Right.
But yeah, my love of wrestling is just as long as my love of movies, if not longer.
That's cool. One of the things I guess that a lot of people kind of get into these days are, the cosplay and all the conventions. Can you talk about maybe how conventions is also kind of having an effect on the film industry?
Yeah.
And vice versa.
Well, it's interesting. I go to San Diego Comic-Con most years. In fact, I'll be going back next month for this one. I don't look forward to it. It's 4 days of hell. But yeah, the convention crowd now has a huge influence on the way studios decide what they're going to do. Sometimes that's great. Sometimes it's not so great because we are a very vocal, but not always such a large crowd. We're not always that dedicated.
Right.
Like I'll use for an example. A few years ago, there was a movie that played at Comic-Con or was announced at Comic-Con, which is called Astro Boy, which you might remember, animated film.
Right.
Huge at Comic-Con, huge. Anybody go see it? Nope.
No.
Nope. But the cosplay crowd loved it.
Right.
The geeks loved it. The fanboys loved it. Nobody wanted to pay to see it. Or maybe they did all pay to see it, but it only amounted to $10 million total.
Right.
So studios nowadays have to decide what's real and what's kind of just, the in the moment thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think Marvel has found a way to latch on to a crowd that goes beyond just the Comic-Con group.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's not always easy to decide what those things are going to be. I think Mad Max Fury Road is one of those movies that I was there when they first debuted footage of it at Comic-Con. And the crowd was going bananas for it, whereas I was like,
Right.
Was it real? Was it real enthusiasm? That had to be cultivated over a year, I think. Because I don't think there was that kind of buzz for it at first. Yeah, I don't think there was. It had to be cultivated, and it's a phenomenal film.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
So it's one of those things that grew into being as big as it was.
Yeah. All right. As we're kind of coming to the end, what's one of the things for like aspiring critics? What's that nugget of advice that you would give them?
Yeah, I always get this question, like, how do you start being a film critic? I was like, I don't know. I just like I said, I just kind of just did it.
Right.
You know what I mean? The main piece of advice I can give you is to just sit down and do it, and then do it often, and then do it consistently. These are the things you have to do. If you're going to start a website, you're going to start reviewing movies. This is all I did. Just start your site, write your first review, and then keep at it. Keep going. Don't stop. Don't go another month before you write another one. Write about everything. Write about everything you see, whether it's a new movie, an old movie, whatever. Write about it, because not only does it improve your skills, but people will start to recognize this is what you're doing, and they'll start to get a handle on what you're saying and who you are. That's what's important. So that's what I tell people: just do it and do it consistently.
All right, that's great advice. All right, so
you're welcome to take it.
Man, you and Travis, you and Tim, y'all, golly.
I hate to think how he was over here on this show.
Yeah. All right, so where can people find you, read your reviews, follow you on everything?
You can find me on Twitter at Punchy Critic, is my handle. You can read me every day at punchdrunkcritics.com, examiner.com. On Thursdays, you can hear me on WBAL Morning News, which I think is 10:90 a.m. or something like that. And whenever they air us on WETA around town, that show moves around so much, I have no idea. Okay. So that's where you can find me pretty much everywhere.
Awesome. Travis, this has been good. Please,
it's been fun.
Don't be a stranger. All right, listen, I'm inviting, stop, where's it going? Which one? This one? All right, I'm inviting Travis back. You can come back anytime.
All right.
You guys heard it.
All right, since you asked so nicely, I'll come back.
All right, but thanks again for coming on the show.
No problem, man.
Appreciate
Glad to
it.
be here.